Hello, how are you, my beautiful people? I am back. um, my name is Nduta. For those who don't know me, I have been on these YouTube streets. I used to make cooking videos, and I had to go away for a while and just do life, because life has a way of catching up with you, and sometimes you have to just sacrifice some things, especially the things that are not paying you or making sense until a time when you can actually afford to do them. And actually, the reason why I am back is because I feel like I should address some things, and I hope this can be a continuing thing. I would like to address this thing with a lot of knowledge, right? So I'll give you a bit of my background. I I am known online as someone who produces food and cakes, but majorly cakes, right? So cooking is something I do just for fun, to create reels. And I used to do that on, I used to do some cooking videos on YouTube. But in the year that I did it, which was 2020, 2021, I wasn't really successful. Like, I didn't reach the 1,000 subscribers limit in that 1 year, and so I had to give my attention to something else, because I was really trying to make an income with what I could do at the time. And I thought this is something I could do without capital, and all I had to do was use the food in my house and do some videos. Why I went into making meals is because I'm one of those people who always loved to host, and people would say, "Oh, your food is yummy," and all that. But the thing is that I never developed that side of cooking enough. So at some point, I didn't feel like I was doing it justice. I am not big on cooking, but I developed one side of the production, and that was cakes. And I built a business while in Kenya for about 7 to 8 years, right? Like, I was self-taught, and I did go to college for food production at some point, but I had to leave. Sounds like, yeah, I had to leave and concentrate on some things, and that is how my cake business was born. I do feel like most people can relate to how you can try so many things in life, but one thing just keeps working out for you, and for me, that was cakes. So I want to address something. It's a cold day in Worcester, Massachusetts. So I was just chilling here with my hot chocolate, just trying to make my day exciting and warm. So I've been abroad for the past 5 years, right? And as much as I felt like a lot of people knew my story and my journey, it was a shock how people reacted to that. People were like, how come you didn't tell us? How come we didn't know you were going? And all of that. And it seems, as much as you feel like you're sharing, not everybody gets to know your story. And so I've had people come to my inbox and ask me, like, how did you do it? And I find that even the closest people to me didn't understand how the journey was like. So I'm going to share, and perhaps in so many series, I would like for people to engage with this video and others, so I can kind of help where I can. Granted, I don't know so much about the many kinds of visas that people use to come abroad. I do know, though, that for most people who win the green card, there are people who are just trying their luck, and perhaps they come abroad in the same way that I did, even though I didn't win the green card or something like that. There are people who have started from scratch. Now, I don't know much, but I do know that kind of starting your life again. It's when you're abroad, it may seem glamorous. Like I'm here taking my hot chocolates, talking to you from this other side. It seems like it's so easy. And I got the feeling that people also felt that I left just like that, like it was so easy. But I will tell you my story today, and perhaps also explain a bit about why I left YouTube, what I have been doing just to create an income for myself and also my family. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a mother of three. I think I should have done a proper introduction. So I'm a mother of three, right? My firstborn, Michael, is 23. Tamwa is 18. And Imani is the baby, and he's 16. When we left the country, Mike was about to sit for his KCSE. That was in 2017. Tamwa was about to sit for his KCPE, and the baby was going into 6th grade. We left the country going into Canada, a place called, or a town called St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. It's on the North Atlantic. It's on the northernmost part of Canada. It's right by the Atlantic Ocean. So that's where we went. It's a nice, very, very old town. Very chilled, very chilly. It's very cold. So that is where we were going to, but we live in Massachusetts now, like I said, a small town called Worcester. And this is how our journey had been like. And I have to tell you, by the time we got visas to go to Canada, we had been character developed by the process. So I don't know about you, and I don't know like where you're trying from, but I would say do not ever lose hope. And even if you have nothing and you come, like you've broken through, you've gotten a visa maybe by GC or PR, do not give up hope. So I will try and share as much as I can about our journey. Now, I'll take you back to 7 years before we left. My husband had applied and got accepted into a college or a university in St. John's for postgraduate studies. And at the time he was leaving, it was a whole process. And at the time he was leaving, we had agreed as a couple that we would join him in 1.5 years. There was no way we were going to risk his chances by trying to all go. We thought about it, but we were kind of skeptical, and we thought perhaps he should go first and then we'll try. Now, what we expected to be a separation of 1.5 years ended up being 7 years. Granted, we got to see each other. Like every 2 years we would see each other for, like, the first time was 2 months and the rest of the time was less. So he was in pursuance of his master's the first 2 years, and so when he left, we did a mistake. You know how as a young wife you're suddenly left with the kids and it's really scary? So I listened to people telling me, oh, you should try. And because my husband's process had seemed easy, don't forget this guy had waited 7 years to resume his studies, but it seemed easy to everyone. You know how a miracle seems like? My God, you could have been blind, like the blind Bartimaeus. Was it 38 years? The time he got healed, it was like, you know, one time. And people forget all the years that you have suffered, right? So this guy had waited for 7 years to find a worthy job. He tried many things. He tried even tutoring. Nothing was bringing enough. And so because he's an academician, right? He loves studying, and he found a way. Like he would go to, you know, those Sarit expos and just talk to the people. I remember in 2013, he had also gotten He had talked to some people from, what is this college in UK? Birmingham University, I think. And we really tried to, like, he applied and he got accepted, but we just didn't have the money. We were poor. So and I was also expecting the second baby, so it felt like an easy sacrifice to make, to not follow his dreams then. But man, it's just hard to give up one's dreams, you know. Now so come 2009, uh so no, the first time he tried for Birmingham was 2003, not 13. So come 2009 or 8, I was attending college. I had decided to, because we were hustlers, we married young and we were trying to really make ends meet. And we were looking at the things we are good at. For me, it was cooking and making cakes. Now, as much as I cooked, nobody used to give me jobs for cooking. But whenever like people had, I was doing cakes, they would just jump at the offer and, you know, like try to get me to make a cake. We were not so many of us making cakes in Kenya by then. So anyway, I had joined college with the idea of pursuing food and beverage course, and that was 2008. And because my process into getting to college went very smoothly, we thought, oh my god, what a miracle. And so at that point he was you know, like the way you just go to a cyber and you're browsing, you're looking for colleges. That is what he had always done, just looking for like post a way to do postgraduate studies easily. And long story short, he ended up getting a scholarship to Canada. So I feel like I've told a lot of his story. Let me get out from there and just come to mine, because that's his story to tell. Perhaps one day he will share that. Okay, so Habi applied and left in 2008. And as I said, thereafter, because I was in shock, I was a mess at the airport, and oh my god, it felt like quite a separation, and it was. So the first time we ever tried for a visa, it was a very stupid mistake. It was hardly 6 months, and you see, this guy had gone as a student. So we tried, and we had so much to lose. But we tried, or rather I tried to apply, and we really thought it would be as easy as his process. We had our reservations, but with the way a lot of people around us had encouraged us, we thought we can do this, you know. So we tried, and it was, we were trying for a tourist visa. It takes 7 days to be approved. It was not approved, but in those 7 days I had given out and sold a lot of my household stuff, so, and moved back to my mom. So it was like, if they do accept, we just go. And like in my mind, there was no doubt that they would accept. It's that thing of watching somebody go through a process and you really don't understand how much they had prepared previously, and you think for you it could be easy. I have to say, at this point, that was very difficult for us. But it's, now that I think about it, it was God's way of separating us for a time so we could both grow. Like I said, we got married early. I was 21, he was no, I was 22, he was 25 when we did get married. And so we had a lot of growing to do. And see, we did have careers, but we had babies. And this was a point where we really now had to focus on raising a family of our dreams, you know, the way you want to give your kids quality life. But when you look at yourself and the things that you're doing, you're not being productive in any way. So we tried for that visa and failed. I can tell you that that was devastating to me. So you can imagine everything that we had amassed as a family, and we really had tried. For a young couple, we really had tried. And looking back, I think God was so faithful. He was with us all the way, and it's like his intention was for us to get our babies while still in Kenya. And I'm so glad it worked out like that, because looking around, I really can't imagine having babies abroad. But God's grace is sufficient for everybody. Everybody's journey is so different that we should never even copy. You know, we should never even try what somebody else has done. I have learned that the hard way. So we tried that 2009 towards December, and we were denied. Life was a bit challenging then. And also there was that thing of having to escort the kids to school from my mom lives in Dandora, so I was living there with her, and the kids now would have to take a matatu to their school. The primary school was Moi Forces, so I decided to move back to Huruma because that's where we had been living before hubby left. So I went and got a babysitter, a bed sitter. I started now from a bed sitter, and look, I've lived in Dandora, so a bed sitter is not starting from the bottom. It was starting from somewhere. So me and my 3 kids, we moved into this bed sitter, and listen, even the bed we were sleeping on was borrowed from my cousin-in-law. It was bad, friends, but God is full of miracles. The same day I moved in, I don't know how hubby did it, but you know the way when you're abroad, the exchange rate is good, so even if you send somebody some small money, they can be able to do something back in Kenya. I think the exchange rate was 70 shillings then to a Canadian dollar. And so he was like, hey, buy a seat at least, and a gas cooker. As you start life, make it easy, because we had really tried up to that point to just customize our lives to the things we like. Oh, he was so sympathetic. So we move into the bed sitter, and this time you can imagine how beaten up I was. I used to listen to Joyce Meyer, and that in itself was a miracle, because I used to switch from the news channel to Hope FM and listen to Joyce Meyer talk about everyday joy of living. And my friends, when I tell you that I was healing, that was God's way of healing me and just settling me and helping open my eyes and begin to live again, because I was totally depressed. And I remember my cousin coming and just upgrading me by getting me a better mattress, you know. I owe this girl so much. All those little things that were happening at that time were really blessing my heart. And eventually I got settled. I stopped my mourning process. I stopped crying about things. I started now refocusing on my life and seeing what I could make of it. But there's always this confusion when your loved one is away and you have the hope still of following them. But the way things are looking, it's very tricky, because one thing with the embassy, and I hope that this helps someone. One thing with the immigration department, when they deny you a visa, they quote the reasons why they denied you. And for us, one thing was because of affordability. We didn't show enough money. Also, we didn't show enough ties. You see, it was easier perhaps for them to give my husband a visa because he had us to tie him to the country, right? So we were denied on several grounds, but those were major: the affordability and the fact that we didn't have strong ties back home. So in 2011, Habi visited the country, and he was talking to me about applying to his school, because if you go in as a student, it's much easier. And again, I hope that does help someone. So if you have some good qualification, you've been doing you've done some graduate studies, or I going into graduate studies, and you don't want to do them in the country. Granted, we have really good universities, but should you want to do your studies abroad, then this is a good way. It will take a long process, but it's a good way to go abroad according to your desires. So anyway, Habi visited and he talked to me about applying to his school. So I applied in 2011 and I got correspondence. Funny thing, on the very day that he was leaving to go back after like a 2-month visit. And that was the first time he visited, and it restored so much of our faith, me and the kids, and I imagine the whole family too. So I had that hope that if they accept me as a student, then at least my kids and I would be able to join him, and I could go to school. I was applying for a sociology course. I could go to school, and my kids would go to a school, perhaps higher quality education for free, because it's really hard to take kids to a private, for private education in the country. It's really hard, like, to afford the group of schools, yeah. And the public education, okay, it's what we could afford then, and the kids were okay in school, but we really wanted more. And Habi, having gone to overseas, and he really liked the environment, the social aspect of it, the schools, for kids, they are mostly free, and there's just that the environment is better in many ways, but our country is growing. We can see that it is, and there's going to be better times, right? So we really desired that for ourselves and our kids while they were still young. But when, the school accepted me, you can imagine the excitement. Oh my God. So, man, that restored our hopes in a major way. But when we did apply for the visa again, we were not qualified. We didn't show enough that we could afford an undergraduate program. We didn't show enough ability to pay. And again, that's ties, but the conditions now were less, but we still had to meet the conditions if we ever wanted to try again. But then this now was another mourning season, right? It was so hard. It was so sad, man. It was so bad that I had wanted to move out of where we were staying. But this time we were no longer staying in the bed sitter. We had moved to a 2-bedroom house, just trying to, create a better life for the family. And I felt like I had it. We used to live in Huruma roundabout. It was so close to my forces, so it used to work. By this time I said, no. I have to move out. I want to now settle. This Canadian thing is painful. I want to just forget about it. So I looked for a place to stay, and that time these gated communities were coming up, and I wanted a house I could work in. By this time I had even left the college, because it was so hard to just be a mother and a student. Like, I felt everything was so hard, man. I wasn't focusing on my life as I should have. And the baby was so devastated because he had always been with the dad since birth. That was one hard separation. And so he was finding it so hard to cope. And whenever, like, I hired a nanny, they would complain that this kid is so clingy. He had separation anxiety. And so seeing all this was making me even sadder. Like, the situation was getting worse. Anyway, so we moved out to a place in Ruaraka. The people who know me know that part of the journey. And I really started advertising aggressively online. And I would take orders and make cakes from the house and deliver, or some people would pick. And this was a better environment in that kind of way. We had a bigger kitchen, and I could do cake production. So I was growing step by step, right? And in between, hubby even sent me, like a kitchen aid mixer. Bakers, we really respect that that mixer, right? So I was really trying to build my business, and I used to do samosas and cakes. Like it was going well, and it was like providing, uh, like it was giving me some money to keep going, right? So the next time, that was 2012. So we moved into the new place 2012 December, and let me tell you, oh my God, like I was so in touch with myself. Like whenever something was enough, like I would just, but let me tell you, I think I'm even tongue-tied. I don't even know the words to use, but that was one time I was really adamant about the things I wanted. And so we moved, and yeah, so we stayed there for another 2 years. Okay. And in 2014, hubby was applying for, or renewing his study permit, and he wanted to include us, and so he went ahead and applied for that, but again we were denied. So you see where my thoughts were, like, I come on, we can't keep doing this. So at that point I was like, please help me to open a shop, and maybe I can focus on these cakes and make a career out of it. And so he did. That was end of 2014, beginning January. So yeah, I did open that shop on Valentine's Day 2015. And for a year, I kept trying to expand it, trying to meet some goals, learning the business aspect of things. I even got to hire some people at the business. We were creating a beautiful thing, and the Canadian dream was kind of taking a back seat. And so we did business, and for that year business was good. We expanded faster than we even thought. Everything was going good, but come 2016, by God, things were not thinking. Things are getting weird. And the first thing that happened was that I even had an accident with my new vehicle that I had bought for the business, and I had to repair that. And things like, I got challenges that were draining the money. And by this time, listen, we had expanded so much. We even had a workshop, and the plan for 2016 was to expand and just have a lot of outlets, and we could bake our cakes from the workshop, because it was like a bedroomed house or apartment up Roraka, just behind Naivas. So if you know me, or you know the cake shop, and you're watching this video, say something and let's connect here. Okay, so that was the third denial for our visas, and it was difficult, friends. It was hard, being away from a loved one. Oh, and I have to say, at this point, he had visited twice more, but every visit was like after every 2 years. So he had come in 2013 and 2015, and we thank God that he could come, even if we couldn't join him. So come 2016, look, things were bad, and the country also was heading towards elections, and I had debts by this time. I had like car debts, a car loan. I had I used to take like ingredients on credits from suppliers, and I had debts I couldn't pay as smoothly as I used to. So 2016, things were bad, and me and one worker that had remained, the others had left because things were not working out. So this guy was very saved, and we kept, talking about these things, and I even opened up to him about how tough things were financially, and sometimes I would even delay paying him so much, but he it's like it was God ordained. So we ended up, because we had too much time on our hands, we ended up talking a lot about God and his will for our lives and all that. And this guy like pushed me into prayer, and I really prayed. And I'm not saying that doors opened because I was praying. I do believe that God always had a grand plan, but God will also want to bring you in agreement. Like he will put you in a situation where you're desperate enough and you will cry unto him. I love using the words in the Bible because they helped me through. My breakthrough was well informed. Like I read my way through out of all these problems that I was facing. And since then, I opened my eyes, or rather God opened my eyes to a place where I really cannot do things without him. You understand? I like now I've been so YouTube shy. I didn't feel like it like I could come back because I've had failures in my life, and that failure in business was one of those. And it really hurts, and building your confidence up again to do things is hard. And like I said, YouTube didn't work for me the first time, but I feel like I need to share these stories so I could help someone. Okay, so 2016, hubby says we need to try again because he was finishing now his studies, and he wanted to apply for a work permit. Now with this kind of application, you can always include your family. Granted, the first time he had tried and we failed, but we could never give up. So he tried again, and lo and behold, it happened. And this is in 2017 when we got our answers. But at the same time, he had applied for jobs everywhere now that he was finishing his studies. So he was applying for a postgrad position. And the positions in Canada were not, like, nobody was, I mean, they would correspond, ask him a few questions, but he never got a positive answer until when until he got one from UCF in Florida. And so we were very confused because it really, the way things were going, the kind of like the way things were progressing with the Immigration Canada, it seemed we were definitely going to get these visas. And as scary as it was also very encouraging. And remember, I had failed in everything. I felt so defeated. This was my only hope. I was praying, guys. I was praying so hard and fasting so hard that one time I felt so weak, like I couldn't do it anymore. And my kids took over. Like the baby, they had a meeting with the brothers, and they said, Mom has been praying so hard for this journey, and I don't know about you guys, but me, I want to go to Canada. That's what the baby said. And they said, we want to go too. So we will take over from Mom fasting. So maybe it's a good thing when our kids see us praying. Anyway, so they said they would take over. On this morning, I was like, I'm going to eat, guys. I know that I said I would fast. I think it was an Esther's fast, but I had done it so many times and I was weak. So kids took over, and I said, I had my breakfast. I said, okay, I can't eat. And they were like, no, you eat. We will fast. We will pray. I'm looking at these chronic guys. Like, my kids are so slim, the first and the second and the third born. I said, no, let's just do it all together, and then we can eat in the evening. So they really carried me through that. So listen, 2017 we got asked to go for medicals. Now when they send you for medicals, unless you are very sick, it shows there it's happening. So again, I said my husband had applied for work in Florida, and we discussed it as a couple, and with like, listen, have you ever prayed so much, you're so in touch? And I know a lot of people don't believe in these things, but for me, when he said that, I saw visions of how Florida looks like. Listen, I had never even spent time looking at Florida online. images of Florida, nothing. I saw myself walking on the beach, and I saw the Floridan colors. Believe me when I say I saw it. So when I was giving him my answer, like when I was telling him, like, you should go, it wasn't out of looking at the advantages. It was feeling like spiritually this was a good move. And so we were confused about, so I'm leaving and you guys are coming. That might be difficult. So listen, I will stop this video here. I will continue with part 2 next week. It would be nice if you subscribed. I'm at a place where I'm doing this to help, not to really build myself or look for an income, although we always need an income, right? But I thank God so much for this time that I have on my hands right now. And I'm thinking, all my nieces, my nephews, the people in my family, friends, people who know me, people who know our journey or something, they may want to come after. And oh my God, one of the reasons why I chose to do these videos about moving abroad, and I suspect I'll also talk about the life abroad. One of the reasons why I thought of doing that is because a lot of people have come into my inbox over the 5 years. Like, okay, not a lot in hordes, but when we were in Canada, people would ask, how can I make it to Canada? Or how did you make it to Canada? And for me, I always used to wonder, like, you don't know my story, you don't know hubby has been here. So for me, it was a spousal kind of sponsorship. But by then, I would just give people the Canadian government website, and it's still what I give. And we are now in Massachusetts, and I'll tell you how we got from Canada to Florida to Massachusetts in the next video. So follow for more. Please do subscribe, help me grow, because that kind of encouragement will make me do more, and perhaps we can help each other. Okay, without you I cannot do this, and I don't know if I have much to offer, but what I do have, I will give. Okay, I love this verse in the Bible. When Peter and John were going to the temple, and there at the gates, or was it Pearl Gate, was seated was it Akiwete, like a disabled person, and he asked them for money, like you know, the way they do. And Peter looked at him and said, silver and gold have I none, but what I do have I will give you. In the name of Jesus, rise up and go. So silver and gold has Nduta none, but what I do have is this knowledge of my own personal journey and the word of God. So if I can share that and it helps you make it to the other side, I will. So thank you guys, love you. All my babies looking at auntie and thinking I would want to go there one day. Keep praying, keep believing, keep working hard in school. It's an attainable dream, and if it's God's will, you will get here. It's a good land. Let's all aspire to travel, to go on adventures, and even if we go back home, we will have seen what the world looks like, because sometimes it's just the desire to see that keeps driving us. So thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.